Hello. Oh wow, that is tousled hair. Here I am at Paris Charles de Gaulle, just flown in from Oslo. We had an earthquake yesterday in southern Norway, Richter scale 4. But as a friend of mine said, we will rebuild. Anyway, this vlog's going to be about music. What's it for? What's my music for? Something that anyone who knows me knows that I'm grappling with continually. Well, I haven't got any answers, but I think I might have made some progress. So yeah, it seems like a very important formula. I'm in Gare du Nord now, just got off the RER overground train. Is it the formula for making croissants? Yeah, it was just here, wasn't it, that boy tricked them into giving him the address of where they were staying. So yeah, it's wall-to-wall, shifty-eyed, what shall we call them? It's nice, a nice sort of mews or a dead end kind of thing. Ah, monsieur, but you must take the metro. No, monsieur. Monsieur does not want to. Because it turns out it's only 1.8 kilometers between the stations. Is that going to kill me? Is that going to kill anyone? I don't think so. What is an Alpenteur, I wonder? Oh no, that's nice. The Rue Milton. That's quite a beautiful corner there. Now in the 9th arrondissement, and we're here. So here at my little house in northern France, seagulls continually nest and stomp and shit and drop bones and end up filling my gutters centimeters deep with guano and debris. They are a problem. So I'm here flying a proud hawk. Come on. Had a serious haircut now at the Moroccan barbers in Dieppe. So yesterday I was sitting on the aeroplane with my computer and I was writing a vlog about music, my music, what my motivations are and what the point of it might be. And I watched something which just put it all into a different perspective, and that was two toddlers. I suppose they were pre-verbal, they were walking, 1 to 2 years old, and just the sheer delight when they discovered each other, one sitting behind the other in the aeroplane, and just the fantastic joy that filled their faces as they kind of touched hands, and then one stroked the other one's hair, and one actually kissed the other one on the head. And the look that they were giving back to their parents to say, look at this, isn't this fantastic? Just fantastic. I mean, we lost all of that, didn't we? As we grew up, we lost that joy and delight in other people. You know, these kids were strangers to each other. Yeah, and it just made my preoccupations all seem a bit detached from reality and superficial and self-indulgent, and yeah. But anyway, I'll press on and I will talk about the things that I was making notes about. Okay, I've just put my mobile phone in an old snare drum stand, so I can't tilt it and things, but this now then is the part of the blog that I wrote on the aeroplane. And it's a bit complicated, so I'm going to refer very much to my notes on this. what's my music for? Why am I doing it? And I'm not the only one grappling with this question. So a YouTuber that I watch a lot is a guy called Andy Edwards, and he has a Philosophy Sunday spot. And on his last Philosophy Sunday, he said that the job now is to convey what it's like living through these times. Making the point, or arguing the case, that we need music because society and morals and patterns of behavior and normalizations don't happen through science or politics, really. They are strongly influenced by culture, by art, he argues. And music as a form of art, he says, is balancing the intellectual with the emotional. Or does he call it the intellectual? Anyway, the emotional with the kind of perfectionist skill part of it, and the narrative, of course. So he's saying that as a society we need music to negotiate something like a reasonable system for us all to live. So music needs to be more than just the hedonistic pleasure of the sounds or the dancing to it, or the playing of it can be a purely hedonistic pleasure as well. But for someone like me, a strong driver for making music or doing anything creative really is that it is an outlet for creativity, which seems to be a thing that's inside a lot of us and needs to get out if you are to stay relatively sane, you have goodish mental health. Poets got to write, someone said. It's a quote, isn't it? Poets got to write, writers got to write, singers got to sing. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, but I was thinking about what's my motivation, and I think it could be drawn as a pie chart. And I played about with the numbers, but I think needing a project and feeling that I have some role to play in the world, as I don't work full time anymore. I'm sort of retired, and I'm a father, a partner, a friend, a family member, and a bit of a breadwinner. I think that needing a project, an ongoing project, is about 40% of my motivation. The hedonistic pleasure of seeing my skill in playing instruments and even singing growing and seeing my catalogue growing is probably, what did I say, 30%. And then there's about 10% which is pastime, which is just something to do when I'm bored. And then the need to express my opinions online, a sort of political or moral aspect of it comes into it, but it's only about 10%. And actually wanting recognition via YouTube, wanting to be a YouTube star or something, again, it's only 10%. I wonder if I will actually I could draw a pie with magic markers and stick it in front of the camera. That'll either appear now or it won't. But what Andy Edwards said, this is the job now, isn't it? Is it really? Expressing what it feels, in some way expressing or reflecting on what it feels like to be living through these times. Is that really the job? I'm not sure. But if I go with it and think, okay, I'll have a sort of lean into this job then and see if I can contribute, then I really have to be honest with myself and accept that my target audience is very limited. It's going to be Western audiences, probably mostly male, probably at least 30 years of age, reasonably well off, not very impoverished. So babies, toddlers, school children, the very poor, people who don't speak English. It's not going to be of any interest to them. So it's a limited market. And whatever I do isn't going to be altruistic. It's not going to be platonically aimed at the job, because it's going to be heavily influenced by the life I've lived, the people that have been in my life and still are some, and the age I am now. So for the very first time, I'm the age I am. Like all of us, for the very first time, we are the age we are at, and it's new all the time. It's different. So the other thing is, if nobody sees or listens to my stuff, it's almost pointless. It's not completely pointless, because I still get out of it the hedonistic pleasures, etc., etc. But it feels like my art, which isn't seen, is not quite completely fulfilling the role of art. And I think that's the same with music. So I do want people to listen, and that is critically important. It's up to me to make it interesting enough for people to engage with it, to be aware of it even. And that has to be done by making the music good, as good as I can make it, and original, and in some way relatable and enjoyable in some way. So all that's my responsibility. Otherwise there's no functionality, no utility to this stuff. Yeah. I'm not saying I want everyone to like it, but I want them to at least show some interest. So I've looked back about the last dozen releases, and I see that I am not actually addressing the job. Maybe 2 out of those last 12 posts have anything to do with expressing reactions to or reflections on what it's like living through our times now. So there's room for movement there. Too much talking. So to round this off, I will sum up the whole of world history in modern times. I think the underlying problem of our times, and perhaps for the last 500 years or even 1,000 years, is that the majority of people make supremely important what a very few people say and do and want. It makes them important. It puts them in charge, make them leaders, and empowers them with huge wealth and lethal force as well, control over the military, to impose what they want and what they and their friends want. And without this universal human conspiracy to follow these bastards, they'd just be old men shouting in the wind. But human nature is to follow these bastards. We could all be equally important and all have a say. We could, except that's way too simple, because we need structure, we need a system. We need a system, because otherwise how do we get collective action? How do we get security? How do we get infrastructure, services, comfort, shelter, heating? Systems are essential. And so there's a really good reason why systems have developed in the modern world. Is to make it possible for us to live to some extent in comfort and to some extent in security. There are groups that have got shat on by these systems, of course. Even while I sit here, and probably all of my followers, listeners and subscribers sit in relative comfort, there are people who have got utterly shat on and even killed to sustain this Western system that we have. So there's a good reason for systems to evolve. Collective action is way better than each individual trying to carve out a life. And somebody had a sticker on the back of their car I saw recently. It said something like, "Together we negotiate, alone we plead and beg." So the bad reason for systems to evolve, for bad systems to evolve, is greed, trickery, elitism, designed to enrich the few at the expense of the many. And that's going on all the time. That's a terrible reason for a system to be designed and to be and to have a life of its own. But often, and in fact maybe almost always, these bad systems with bad aims masquerade as the first kind, as the good kind, on the back of a huge amount of lies and propaganda. So there's good and bad systems. Ex-Archbishop Rowan Atkinson Rowan Atkinson? The ex-Archbishop of Canterbury, who is not Rowan Atkinson, Rowan Williams, said, yeah, I'm old enough and I'm old-fashioned enough to actually believe in the devil, that there's a malign force out there that creeps in to the way individuals act, to the way groups act. So, there we have it. That's the underlying problem. Too many people giving all the power to too few people and becoming apologists for them and supporters of them and celebrating it because they're what? Completely stupid? Can't be that. Can't be that. Anyway, we need a system, but not corrupt, bad, evil, exploitative systems. And these things could not exist without the majority of people voting like sheep. Thank you. That's the end of this vlog. Just a shot again of my hawk to round it off. Goodbye. I'll tell you the other thing that's wrong with modern society. It's all these bloody USB variants. So you never have the right combination of plugs and bloody leads. Right.